Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's 9 p.m., almost 10 p.m. So I had to make a video. My hair looks shabby, but to make a video, I'm home. Obviously, I am not watching World Cup. I just unsubscribed to the Fox News one because all the teams are gone, so there's only a handful of teams, and I won't be watching the game until the final of the July 19, and I'm gonna be watching the other people's places. So I'm not gonna be watching myself. So if I don't cancel now, the renewal will be renewed in I believe Tuesday, which is on 14. That will mark 1 month. So I just canceled. I don't need to pay for 2 months. So because I don't need to use Fox, I never use Fox as a news. I only used it for sports. But today I woke up in the morning and I stumbled on the news that has not been that was very new. The news that was new. First time. This news was not shocking, but it was very interesting. The news from a guy known as Senate Lindsey Graham. Okay, Senator Lindsey Graham. He actually died today on July 11. Senator Lindsey Graham is a very popular guy here in Washington D.C. He's known to have a sense of humor. Is known to be funny. He's also like a conservative, the Republican Party, and he represents South Carolina. He's been in the government since 2002, so he's been in there for a long time. He died at the age of 71, and some of the fun fact about him, not fun fact, but some of the facts about him is that he has huge influence in foreign policy, U.S. foreign policy. He also didn't have children. He didn't have a child. He didn't have a wife. So he was single, 71 years old, which is very strange. I had no idea because I don't really follow up with the senator's government. I will make a separate video to why do government officials stay in power for so long to the point where they have to die. But today I'm focus on why Lindsey Graham is very influential in foreign policy. If you look at every single picture of American leaders, even the presidents, Senator Lindsey Graham has a picture with almost every single president in the world. This guy was very influential, and his goal was very clear. He wanted to advance American conservative values and interest to the rest of the world. He was advancing American values on full force. All right. So I did a simple Google search to read what he is, who he is. This is the chance I could have Googled this, read the news, and move on. But reading what I'm sharing is also a good thing, so that you can watch both videos and and also the internet, the news. The information changes all the time, so having the ability to make a video like this as I'm reading makes a huge sense. What you search may not have the same information as mine, especially with the AI influence. So Senator Lindsey Graham was defined by a hawkish interventionist approach that champions American military power. She was a very huge believer of advancing U.S. military across the globe. Okay, I spent like more than 3 decades in the Congress, representing South Carolina, and it was very influential for advocating for a robust global U.S. presence, and made him both highly praised by international allies and highly controversial here in the States. So this is like more like the timelines. So the post 9/11, this is after 9/11. Graham emerged as one of the Capitol Hill's most vocal war hawks, alongside Senator John McCain. John McCain is a very popular guy, and Joe Lieberman. They both called each other as three amigos. Amigos means friend. This is a Spanish word. He traveled globally, pushing for aggressive military actions and championed the long-term U.S. Campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan. So you will see if you live in a different country, you know that Senator Lindsey Graham had a picture with every president. During the 2016 primaries, Graham was a fierce never Trump critic who slammed Donald Trump, isolationist worldview. He actually was he didn't like Trump at first. Then he loved him after. Then he hates him again, and he loved him again. All right. So today he died because he was advocating for Trump, and he has been himself. He said he's gonna use Trump to change the world and to change how the world sees the United States. So he's been a very closest advisor, closest ally for Donald Trump. Okay. So he died after he left Ukraine. That was this week. Even though everybody was very anti-Ukraine, everybody was anti-U.S. spending money in Ukraine. Remember, Donald Trump just left Turkey for a speech in NATO, and NATO accepted to contribute 5% on of their GDP to the military and security. So that's when he went to visit Ukraine. So according to the report here, it says that just days before his passing in July 2026, he completed his 10th visit to Kyiv since the 2022 invasion, meeting with President Vladimir Zelensky. I don't know why I keep saying Vladimir Zelensky, to secure a new package of U.S. sanctions against Russia. So he's been advocating to sanction Russia for a long time. He had a very aggressive Iran policy. He consistently pushed for maximum isolation of Tehran, chairing direct military strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, and calling for ultimate regime change. So mind you that he was so when Trump became a president, he was anti-war. But I've been saying this: who's behind the scene in forcing Trump to spend money in Iran, Middle Eastern countries? It turns out that people like Lindsey Graham are behind the scene in forcing Donald Trump to spend money in these foreign policy interventions. So I have a list here on which president or leader that Zelensky has an influence in, and I will start with the most recent one. That is Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Graham was one of the Ukraine's most aggressive champions in Washington, visiting the country 10 times following the 2022 Russian invasion. His final meeting with Zelensky took place in Kyiv on July 10th. This is yesterday. Today we are in July. Today we are in July 12th. So that was yesterday, Saturday, just one day before Graham's sudden passing. So he died Saturday. We don't know what killed him. We haven't seen any outlook. Maybe he died because of the nuclear dropping in Ukraine. I don't know. Whatever happens, he died, and we never know. So things that they discussed with Zelensky is bipartisan aid and sanctions. In their final 2026 meeting, they finalized plans coordinated with the Trump administration to push forward a several new package of sanctions against Russia and secure a continuous military aid. The global stakes, Graham famously told Zelensky that abandoning Ukraine would signal weakness that will directly compromise Taiwan's security, arguing Putin will not stop in Ukraine. The second person was Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the Prime Minister of Israel. Graham was widely regarded as one of Israel's fiercest and most unyielding allies on Capitol Hill, frequently flying to Tel Aviv to coordinate such strategy. What they discussed, the Iran threat, Graham and Netanyahu shared a hawkish preoccupation with Tehran. Graham consistently pushed the Trump administration to view the total dismantling of Iran's leadership and nuclear capabilities as a primary objectives. So now we know who was behind the scene. The Gaza and regional wars. Following the October 7 attacks, Graham met with Netanyahu to assure him of absolute U.S. backing, controversially comparing Israel's existential fight to America, dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end World War II. Very, very crazy. Let me repeat this. The Gaza and regional wars. Following the October 7 attacks, Graham met with Netanyahu to assure him of absolute U.S. backing, controversially comparing Israel's existential fight to America dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end World War II. This is a very interesting guy. So this guy was, bro. I mean, he seems funny, and I never really looked into him, but seems like he was an evil guy. I mean, he's 71 years old and he didn't have kids. He didn't have a wife. So I don't expect people who have no family to have good intentions of the better of the world. Now I understand why it is that they're killing kids in Gaza, because the people in our government don't have children. People in our government don't have families. How do you expect them to have empathy for children in Gaza or somewhere in the Middle East or somewhere in Africa? This goes the same with Kamala Harris. She has no kids, she has no husband. She has husband, but she has no kids. People like this in our society, they don't really understand. They don't have mercy. Then the third person that he met was Mohammed bin Salman, the Prince of Saudi Arabia. The relationship is perfect for YouTube. This is like the affordability. After the assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, Graham publicly blasted the MBS, calling him a toxic recording board who could never be a leader on the world stage. Then in 2026, 2 years after that, Graham traveled to Saudi Arabia multiple times, visiting this guy, the new elected leader, and then they pivoted entirely to discussing regional normalization with Israel, containing Iran, and economic deals, including Saudi Arabia purchasing $37 billion worth of Boeing 787 manufactured in Graham's home state of South Carolina. Then you have Alexander Stubbs, president of Finland, and European NATO leaders. Then a lot. I'm gonna check on Africa. It's interesting that this guy has so much influence in the government. So you have Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the president of Egypt. They discussed on the Gaza crisis. They discussed on counterterrorism and military aid. Then you have Kais Saied, the president of Tunisia. These are like Arab countries. They discussed on democratic versus aid, border security and regional chaos. Then you have General Abdel Fattah el-Burhan and former Prime Minister of Abdul Hamid of Sudan, Northern Sudan, discussed on Abraham Accords, removing the state sponsor of terrorism. Then you have Muhammad Buhari, and security leader. So this is the Nigerian president. And they discussed on the fight against Boko Haram and ISWAT. And what ISWAT is, the counterweight to China. Interesting. Yeah, it's very It's very interesting. I cannot go deep into this guy's biography, but looking at these people that have been, so in China you have, in Asian countries you have Lai Ching-te and Tsai Ing-wen. These are presidents of Taiwan. They discussed on strategic clarity, then discussed on microchip security, and then you have Ashraf Ghani, this is the president of Afghanistan, discussed on the troop withdrawal debate, and then discussed on what else? And then you have Andros Manuel Lopez Obrador, the former president of Mexico. They discussed on fentanyl and the cartels and the ultimate threat. Then you have Juan Guaido, the opposite leader of Venezuela. They discussed on regime change, very, very important. This guy was behind the regime change. The guy is very, very advocate for the regime change. Then you have Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak, the former Prime Minister of UK. I discussed on Iran nuclear deal. Then they also have Syria strategy. All right. Then you have Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey. Then they discussed on the Kurdish conflict, which is like the conflict in the Middle East. They also have discussed on the F-16 fighter jets. There is more. There's more. There is more. It's very interesting that he took so many views to so many people. He's very popular in DC. Very, very popular guy. He met with King Abdullah. They discussed on the anchor of stability and securing billions of dollars of aid for Jordan. And also managing millions of Syrian refugees and maintain Jordan's critical intelligence partnership with the U.S. military. Hamid Karzai, the leader of Afghanistan, is a former leader. The tense partnership, Graham and John McCain flew to Kabul to press Karzai on government corruption, election integrity, and training of the Afghanistan National Army to fight the Taliban. This is 2000s. We are still in 2000s. Nauri al-Malik and Haider al-Abad, both are prime ministers of Iraq, the troop surge and the rise of ICC, and this is 2007 before Barack Obama, and he demanded for political reconciliation between Sunnis and Shias, and he met with al-Abad to coordinate the US-led coalition campaign to wipe out the ICC Salifate in Mosul. Then you have Mohammed bin Zayed, the president of UAE. I talked about that as well. And then you have Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of Qatar. And then they talked about the Adaid Air Base and Hamas, basically to settle a military base in Qatar, which we see right now Iran is bombing. And then you have Emmanuel Macron, right, the current president of the current leader of France. They talked about Syria and transatlantic tensions. He convinced France to keep troops on the ground in northern Syria after Donald Trump initially ordered a total U.S. withdrawal. Viktor Orban, Prime Minister of Hungary. He talked about the populist friction. He is a right-winger in Hungary. And then Hungary was threatening to block Sweden and Finland from joining NATO, as well as Orban's close ties to Vladimir Putin. So it was very close. This is similar to Ukraine. Then Andrzej Duda, the president of Poland, they talked about Fort Trump and the Suwalki Gap. So he wanted to put station of U.S. troops in Poland, and miserable defense shields and logistic pipelines for routing heavy military weapons directly into Ukraine. So we're seeking for a hub to beat Russia. Petro Poroshenko, former president of Ukraine, this is the guy who was replaced by the Zelensky. This was the pre-2022 warning in famous December 2016. Perfect, and both the Lindsey, Graham Lindsey, and John McCain, they promised Ukraine soldiers. Mikhail Saakashvili and Salome Zlabichevi, the president of Georgia. This is like Eastern Europe. They discussed about the Russian invasion 2008, and the Graham visited Tbilisi following the 2008 Russo-Georgia War to champion Georgia's sovereignty and heavily advocate for its eventual thought-stored admission to NATO. All right. Then you have Shinzo Abe and Fumio Kishida, former Prime Minister of Japan, the Indo-Pacific Shield. That's what I talked about. Then you have Moon Jae-in and Yoon Suk Yeol, President of South Korea. They talked about North Korea's nuclear threat. This was during the tension between Kim Jong-un and back in 2017, Fire and Fury standoff with Kim Jong-un. Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, they talked about the Quad Alliance to strengthen the economic and military ties, putting India at the ultimate demographic and geopolitical counterweight to Chinese economic dominancy in Asia. Rodrigo Duterte, former president of Philippines, they talked about the volatility ally, and Graham tried to preserve the visiting force agreement with Manila when the Iraqi do threatened to severe military ties with Washington in favor of Beijing. So Filipinos want to kick out U.S. Army and bring in the Chinese, because China is getting really tough. Then you have Arivalo Uribe and Juan Manuel Santos, both former presidents of Colombia. They talked about the plan Colombia and drug war, cocaine and all that. Senator he flew to Bogota to review the deployment of billions in U.S. aid used to combat FARC guerrillas and destroy cocaine cartels. Very interesting guy. This guy is not a president, but he's more involved in foreign policy than any other person in the U.S. history. Paul Kagame, this is Rwanda, president of Rwanda. Regional stability and development. Graham met Kagame during continental tours focused on public health initiatives like PEPFAR and security coordination in the volatile African Great Lakes region. Uhuru Kenyatta, former president of Kenya. Al-Shabaab threat. This is Somalia. Graham met Kenyan leadership to bolster counterterrorism operations, intelligence sharing, and border security infrastructure to prevent Al-Shabaab. I keep reading Al-Shabaab as AI Shabaab. AI Shabaab terrorists from speeding over from Somalia. Al-Shabaab. So this is very interesting, and I'd like to know more about the visit between the Kenyan president and the Rwandan president. I wonder what could have been his motivation to visit Africa. But next couple of weeks, I'm going to be going for a meeting between the United States and the U.S. relationship, and U.S. and Africa relationship at Brookings Institute. And one of the main topics is going to be minerals and resources within the African continent. And people like this guy, they are behind the scene. But here we are. This guy had just died. Now, I'm not sure who's gonna replace him, but they will never find anything. They will never find any other leader like Renzo Grahama, who was very blending in conservative values, American interest, and influenced the world leaders without him being a president of the United States. All right. So after this video, because I'm running out of space. But because when the lights are on, it gets really hot. My lights are meant to be for the winter. So that being said, I want to say that Senator Grahama has died. He died suddenly. There's no reasonable cause why he died. No one knows yet. But Senator Grahama was very, very famous in the House for advancing foreign policy. He didn't have a good reputation in the domestic side, but I have seen him with so many photos with so many presidents around the world. Like I said in my video, he was very influential, very involved, and eventually he is actually gone, and I don't know if they would ever have another leader. Many Senate and Congress and the government are all extremely old, and they're all dying soon. So that being said, thanks for watching. Like always, bye bye, ciao ciao, adios. I'll bless in a 15 minutes video, actually 20 minutes video. Like always, thank you for watching. Like always, bye bye, ciao ciao. I'll see you tomorrow in another video. Bye bye.